Good evening, Wilmington. Welcome to those in chambers and online. We have reached the last day of budget hearings. We saved the best for last. We have quite a packed agenda tonight. We have our heroes with both the Wilmington Police Department and Wilmington Fire Department. So we have the two budget hearings tonight. So at this time, I will call the Finance Budget Committee hearing for Wednesday, May 1st. I am the Finance Chair, Chairman Johnson, and I will be chairing the meeting tonight. And let's just move forward with the roll call. I'd like to first start by recognizing members of the Finance Committee in attendance. Vice Chair Harley, 4th District.
Present.
Councilmember Oliver, 3rd District.
Present.
And Councilman Spadola at large.
Present.
And Council President Congo.
Here.
Okay. All right. And okay. And I also have Council Member Field, 8th District.
Present.
All right. Yep. All right. And I also like to recognize other council persons in attendance who I can see that or have joined us. Council Member Mills at large.
Present.
Councilmember McCoy, 6th District.
Here.
And other council member, and I also with me is Councilmember White as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Councilmember Fields is here.
Okay. And Councilmember Fields, I have you as well. All right.
Thank you.
All right. And again, all those who, if you come in late, just of course let Marshall know or I, and you can be marked as present. All right, just kind of a broad strokes overview as to why we're here and how we ended up here is on March 21st, seems a long time ago, Mayor Purzycki presented his mayor's budget address in which he presented the administration's vision for the proposed budget. In the budget were such high-level items included such as a 0% property tax rate increase, 9% water sewer rate increase, 6% stormwater rate increase, transfer of $1 million from the tax stabilization, no money from the tax stabilization fund, and money to support the neighborhood stabilization accounts as well. The general fund budget was a total of $192 million, which is up $9.6 million over last fiscal year. The water sewer fund budget was a total of $90 million, which is $5.5 million increase over last fiscal year. There was no capital budget because it is an even year. And after you total up the numbers, it ends up with a general fund budget surplus of $5.7 million. Now, the proposed budget at the time did factor in EMS program, but we will talk to the fire department at their budget hearing later this afternoon. There have been some updates to that, so those numbers have changed. So where we are now is that, of course, the ball is in council's court. It is our fiduciary responsibility to vet the city budget department by department, line by line, to make sure there's no waste. And our job is to continue using the taxpayer dollars to continue to build and grow our city, each neighborhood at a time. By charter, council must adopt a balanced budget at least 30 days before the end of the fiscal year. We've already shared our vision of City Council's vision for moving the city forward. This includes doubling down in public safety, in which you'll hear about a lot tonight, increasing neighborhood stabilization, namely homeowner repair programs, facade programs, and first-time homebuyer programs, also investing in our parks and youth services in the city. Before I turn into OMB, I'd like to go over the ground rules for tonight. So council members, as always, just of course raise your hand to be recognized. We'll go through the preset questions as usual first to make sure we get through material, and then we will get to question and answer from members of council. The members of the public comment due to time constraints will, of course, as usual, be limited to 3 minutes. So please raise your hand and be acknowledged. Either if you sign up in chambers or sign up online, let us know, and we'll make sure you're heard. All questions, of course, should be in a budgetary fiscal matter as we move forward. So This is, again, part of the process, and I'll go over into a little bit later, but again, these are proposed budgetary items. Nothing is set in stone. So, again, this is a negotiation back and forth. So at this time, I will turn it over. I believe Rob Winkler from OMB has joined us. He'll give a fiscal overview of the Wilmington Police Department, and then I will hand it over to Chief Campos, and he can introduce his team, and then we'll dive into the question and answer. The floor is yours, Mr. Winkler.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson, and good afternoon. And good afternoon, President Congo and council members. Today I'll be providing an overview of the FY2025 Police Department budget. Just waiting for the slides. All right. All right, could we get the next slide? There we go. Okay, so excluding the state pension contribution, the proposed FY25 general fund budget is $62.8 million, which is down $277,000, or 0.4% compared to the FY24 budget. Personal services, which account for 84% of the department's budget, are down $634,000, or 1.2%. Now note that this doesn't include the additional $3.9 million associated with the new FOP contract, which I'll be discussing in a moment. Materials, supplies, and equipment is also down at $33,000 or $33,000 or 0.8% compared to the FY24 budget. And total staffing across all funds is 366 FTE, which is down 8 from FY24. Total authorized strength for sworn officers is 305, which is down by 7. All right, next slide. Okay, so let's take a look at the major funding changes for FY25, starting with the position changes. First, 7 vacant patrol officer positions were eliminated for a total salaries and benefits savings of $668,000. And second, a vacant senior emergency communications specialist position was eliminated for a savings of $87,000. Now, exclusive of these position cuts and exclusive of the new FOP contract, regular salaries are budgeted to increase by $808,000. Approximately $725,000 of this increase is the cost of an estimated COLA for sworn officers. Now, again, that doesn't include the impact of the new contract, but was only a placeholder that was included in the proposed budget. The remainder of this increase is the result of the mid-FY24 classification and compensation study, as well as mandatory step increases. Combined overtime costs are budgeted to increase by $464,000, which includes an additional $353,000 for regular overtime and an additional $111,000 for special events overtime. The increases are a result of high levels of attrition, labor cost increases, and the cost of providing security for the DNC campaign headquarters. There's also a net $1.1 million decrease to employee benefits. The largest component of this is a $1.5 million reduction to the city-sponsored pensions due to reduced actuarially required contributions. Now, this is partially offset by a $694,000 increase to the state pension contributions, which reflects a nearly 18% increase in the state pension rate, as well as contractual salary increases. And finally, temporary salaries are budgeted to decrease by $50,000, as recent spending on crossing guards has been well below budget due to vacancies. Next slide. Okay, so MS&E, which is down a net $33,000. To begin, consultants increased by a net $20,000, driven by several notable items. First, there's a $30,000 increase to fund the Police Officer Standards and Training Advisory Board. Second, an additional $19,000 was added for the Real-Time Crime Center Camera Watch system. And third, $125,000 was added for a Crisis Assistance Response and Engagement, or CARE unit, which pairs officers with mental health professionals. These increases are nearly offset by a $200,000 reduction due to FY25 being an off year for the biennial promotional process. Now, some other notable increases include an additional $52,000 in repairs to equipment, which is roughly split between additional funding for boat maintenance and public safety building repairs, and an additional $38,000 to replace shotguns. These are offset by several decreases, notably uniforms and related equipment being down $75,000 due to one-time FY24 funding for a bomb suit no longer being included in the budget, as well as smaller academy classes resulting in reduced uniform needs. And in addition, other non-capitalized equipment is down $70,000, mainly due to the funding for dress vest outer carriers being reduced, as the majority of officers were equipped in FY24. Next slide. Okay, so while we did include a placeholder COLA of 2.5% in the proposed budget, the recently approved FOP contract provides for a 7% COLA in the first year, along with a retention bonus for each officer. The costs of this are not included in the proposed budget and are expected to add an additional $3.9 million in salaries and benefits to the already budgeted increases. So the amounts not included in the budget are as follows. $1.5 million in salaries and benefits for the COLA, $2.3 million in salaries and benefits for the retention bonus, and $149,000 for overtime. These changes are expected to be added as part of the third and final proposed budget ordinance. All right, so that concludes my presentation on the police department budget. Chair, the floor is yours.
Okay, so and I guess my question for you, Mr. Winkler, again, I know we'll dive deeper into this as we go. So it's about $5.1 million fiscal impact with the new contract?
That's correct. Yeah, relative to the existing contract, but we had already included a placeholder COLA when the budget was created. Once that contract was signed, you know, then we then know what the total is. That adds an additional $3.9 million.
You know, are they all the numbers all spread to the 24-25 fiscal year, or will it be impacted future years as well?
So it's
I
a 2 year.
understand it's a 2 year.
It's a 2 year contract. Yeah. So there will be, you know, obviously there'll be an increase in 26 as well, but that would be built into the 26 budget when that occurs.
Will the impact be the same going to the following fiscal year, or will it be less?
I believe it is 5.4. I can confirm that number for you in a second, but it is less since the second year doesn't have that. Yeah, that's correct. It's 5.4. The second year doesn't have the retention bonus, so that's what's making that cheaper in the second year.
Okay. All right. Very well. Any questions for OMB specifically? Okay. All right. Oh, and I have Councilmember Cabrera. I have you marked as present. And at this time, I will then turn it over to Chief Campos. You first introduce your team, and then give the overview of the department, and then we'll dive into the question and answer.
Yes, good evening, Chairman Johnson, President Congo, council members, and everyone else in attendance. Today I have Master Sergeant Nelly Vega with me, as well as Master Corporal Diana Gusto, who will be assisting me in this presentation. I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to share a brief opening statement with you all. We are proud to present our proposed budget for the Wilmington Police Department for fiscal year 2025. This budget reflects fiscal discipline and a balance of funding of critical initiatives while being mindful of the city's financial outlook. I would like to take a few moments to share and reflect on our department's achievements over the past year. We continue to see reduced violent crime and overall crime. Compared with 2017 at the start of Mayor Przicki's administration, we have reduced murders by 73%, shooting incidents by 59%, and shooting victims by 61%. We're currently matching last year's trends for murders and shooting incidents. We have seen a 4% reduction in shooting victims so far this year. Additionally, we have seen a reduction in the number of shooting incidents related to group violence. So far in 2024, we're also seeing an 11% reduction in overall Part 1 crimes, which is a 26% reduction from 2017 numbers. We also continue to expand ways in which we support our residents. Our recently community engagement unit continues to do great work in our communities and our non-police districts, working with our residents, making sure that they address some of the ongoing issues in each particular neighborhood. We continue to organize monthly community resource fairs, bringing together as many as 40 social service, public health, and community support partners to extend critical resources that are free to our residents. We also continue to lead weekly community outreach walks with service providers to that population who will not come to us. We actually go to them. We recently launched our Partners in Care program, the co-responder program, which pairs mental health clinicians with police officers who respond together to calls for service involving mental health or substance abuse. We're also accepting applications for our Summer Youth Public Safety Academy, which we organize in partnership with the fire department. At this time, I would like to say that I cannot be more proud of the work of our police officers, whether it relates to engaging with the community, making arrests in connection with some of our most serious crimes, and everything in between. Our officers out each and every day, risking their lives to make our city safer. There's always more work to be done, and we continue to look forward to making this city as safe as possible. Thank you.
All right. So let's dive into question one, Chief Campos. I know we heard from Mr. Winkler a little bit a few minutes ago just about the new FOP contract. So if you could share any nuances in terms of your vision and I guess really the why. Need for the bonus structure and the rest of the pay scale as outlined in that agreement.
Yes, according to OMB, the $3.9 million costs associated with the new CBA will be reflected in the final year 2025 operating budget ordinance. What we're seeing in the industry of policing recently is, people are receiving hiring bonuses, retention bonuses, in order to be competitive and bring people into the policing industry in Wilmington. We have to keep up. And this retention bonus that the officers are receiving is just something that's comparable to what other agencies across the state and even across the nation are receiving when it comes to retention. There's also departments that are issuing or giving out hiring bonuses as well.
Okay. All right. Going to question two. We'll talk about understand that there was a PERB decision, and obviously, I know there's legal constraints on what you can say about that, but, specifically, can you talk about filling vacant positions in spite or in conjunction with what PERB said? How are you working as CEO of the department and trying to fill these vacant spots?
Yeah, so we continue to go out and, recruit at different locations. I know we had a very robust recruitment drive for this next academy that we're in the process of trying to go to, all the community colleges, the historically black colleges, as well as churches, community centers, anywhere that we can go out and do recruitment and try to spread the message of wanting to be a police officer, and in particular wanting to be a Wilmington police officer, and the benefits of being a police officer here in Wilmington. An urban environment where you get to engage with the community, where you get to go out and make a difference each and every day. So we are spreading the message in this last class process. We did see an increase from the last process where we had 51 applications. In this process, we had 77. So we're out there, we're sharing the message, we're trying to get everyone, even our police officers who are not on the recruitment team, to share the message of, wanting to come back into this profession of policing here in the city of Wilmington.
Okay, and can you do the breakdown of city residents on the department?
Yeah, so right now we have 85 sworn officers who are currently city of Wilmington residents. 201 are non-city residents. And then I think question number 2B, if you want me to go into that now.
Yes,
Okay.
please go into that.
Currently, we have, I believe it's the take-home vehicle for police officers. We have 35 sworn officers with take-home vehicles, which includes staff members, including myself, the 2 majors, the captains, and the 11 lieutenants.
Okay. And we can talk about this once cadets, start the process. Any, observations about how to make sure they actually can go finish the process?
Yeah, so one of the things that we always hear about, and most recently, again, in our orientation for this next process, is that they always bring up the residency question. Do we have a residence? Do we not have a residency? Do I have to move in the city? So that question always comes up in our processes.
Okay. All right. So moving on to question 3, if you discuss the allocation in this budget for violence prevention and intervention activities, especially, you know, I know there's a lot going on in CPSI, so can you go into that as well?
Yeah, so, you know, our violence prevention starts with our police officers, obviously, but more specific, our community engagement police officers who continue to work in partnership with our community residents to address issues and concerns affecting individual neighborhoods. Combined with our weekly outreach walks, our monthly resource fairs, as well as our other anti-violence strategies aimed at violence prevention, we continue to see these decreases in crime. Our CPSI, which is run by Dr. Mason through the mayor's office, and which is administered through the mayor's office, combines the violence prevention intervention by responding to community incidents in real time with violence interrupters, with the goal is to prevent that retaliation and issues from escalating. And I believe they've done a tremendous job in doing that in the areas that the pilot program has been in place for the last year and plus. So it is a great program. We provide information to CPSI about issues that are occurring in the neighborhoods they're working in, and they're really making a difference out there, I believe.
Okay. Jumping to question number 4, Chief, can you discuss any position changes within your department?
Yeah, so with the elimination of the 7 vacant positions, you know, we worked with the administration together on that. So, you know, a lot of these positions have been vacant for a while, and what we're doing is as positions become open through retirement, we're not transferring police officers into positions that are inside job or desk jobs, you know, the investigative positions, where we have several vacancies that are open because we don't want to deplete the officers who are out on the street. We want to be able to maintain that level of staffing for officers to be able to respond to 911 calls in a timely manner, and that overall makes the city a lot safer.
Okay, and sticking on question 4, I understand the senior emergency communication specialist role was taken on the budget. Can you explain the thinking around
Yes.
that?
Yes, sir. The position that you speak of has been vacant for multiple years, and through our evaluation with Major Bowers and the analysis of staffing levels in the communications division, we've determined that this vacant supervisor position can be eliminated without affecting the operations of the unit.
I just wanted to go back actually to WIT in question 3. I think there was one part was not answered about the Wilmington Police Department's officers per capita. I believe based on just objective numbers is fairly reasonable, a little on the higher end. Can you share if there's been any consideration of a Office of Violence Prevention?
I would defer that question to the administration. We do, as a police department, as the police chief, you know, we do a lot of violence prevention through the initiatives and strategies that we have in place, whether it's to our district integrity, where we have the same police officers work in the same neighborhoods to maintain that level of consistency where they get to know the residents and the conditions in each particular neighborhood, whether it's our COMSAT methodology, where we have accountability through our management from our meetings on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Fridays to talk about issues that are happening in each particular command district, our intelligence-led policing, our enhanced gun staff, where we meet with prosecutors from the state and the federal level to talk about violent crime, people who are in illegal possession of firearms, whether it's our group violence intervention, our GVI, where we have self-identified individuals who are on probation and are known to be involved in violent crime. We partner with the state to try to get them into a life of moving away from crime through offering employment, training, housing, or wherever it may be to get them out of a life of crime. We do our anti-violence overtime initiative where we identify areas of need through our reporting. And then our technology that we're using as well, whether it's surveillance cameras throughout the city, our ShotSpotter technology that our officers have in their vehicles and on their phones to be able to respond to any incidents of shots fired or anything of that particular incident. So there's a lot that we're doing for violence prevention. Can we always do more? Absolutely. We're always looking at ways, innovative ways that other departments and other cities are performing to see whether or not that is something that would be effective in the city of Wilmington. Just like the co-responder program that pairs mental health clinicians with police officers. You know, it's something that's going around different departments throughout the country, and it's something that I've seen a need for it here, and that's why we initiated it.
All right, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Bracy. And let's then jump forward to question 5. We talk about the proposed authorized strength. I believe it's proposed to be at 305, I believe. So can you talk about the need for staying at that number?
Yeah, so our authorized strength in fiscal year 24 was 312. We're now down to fiscal year 25, which is 305. Right now, our current actual strength is 286. We have 26 sworn personnel vacancies, which puts us at a current operational strength of 270. 4 of those individuals are on military deployment. 12 are on modified duty personnel, which includes injury, FMLA, administrative duty. So the need for it is always needed, right? We would love to be at 305, and that's why we have an academy in place. We do have vacant positions, as I spoke about earlier, where some of the investigative divisions, some of our other specialized units do have vacancies. But again, we're going to try to maintain our staffing levels on the uniform services side to make sure that when someone does call 911, we're able to respond in a timely manner and we're able to be proactive in reducing crime.
All right, and can you discuss the difference between the actual strength versus the authorized strength?
Yes, so the authorized strength is 305. That's our maximum allowed police officers that we're allowed to have. Our actual strength is 286, so that includes vacancies, the 26 sworn vacancies that we have. Our operational strength is the amount of available officers to be able to go out and put a uniform on if need be to patrol our streets or to service the city. And that's due to military deployment and the other modified duty personnel, whether it's officers who are injured, sick, FMLA, administrative duty, and other admin responsibilities.
Kind of switching gears and jumping to school resource officers. Can you specify the breakdown of the SROs?
Yes, right now we currently have 6 SROs. One's at Howard High School. We have one at PS DuPont Middle School. We have one at Douglas School and one at the Community Education Building, the CEB. We also have one at Bancroft Middle School and one at Byard Middle School. The need for these officers it's a big need, as you know, across the country. Some of the issues that pop up every once in a while with tragic events through our school system where individuals go in and wreak havoc. You know, this is something that, through my experience, is something that's not only needed because of what we see throughout the country, but also due to the amount of calls if we don't have a police officer there. And not only just for responding to calls for service, but at the same time, there's a twofold benefit to it. You have an officer who's able to interact with the children in the school and be a mentor to some of those some of them kids in those in the schools. So it's a two-pronged approach to it. You know, they're there to prevent some of the issues we're seeing nationally, and also to be a mentor to some of the students that are that attend these schools.
Okay. And can you give the breakdown of the diversity numbers?
Okay, yes, sir. So looking at question 5, the breakdown, we have 286 sworn officers. Out of that 286, there's 160 white males, 53 black males, 23 Hispanic males, and then female-wise, we have 17 white females, 18 black females, 10 Hispanic females, and 1 considered other, for a total of 286. The percentages is 55%, 55.94% white males, 18% black males, 8.39% Hispanic males, and then 1.05 other determined males. White females, it's 5.94%. Black females is 6.29%. Hispanic females is 3.5%. And then other females is 0.35%.
Okay. All right. Jumping to question 6, Chief. Thank you. We can discuss the police academy plans.
Yes, right now we're in the process of starting another police academy. Hopefully, we're looking to add 15 to 20 recruits anticipated. Final number will be based on the attrition rate as well as the individuals who, pass all the testing that goes on with the process. The timeline for the process includes the application process, selection process. The academy itself is 24 weeks. We're looking to start the academy sometime in July with an end date around mid-December.
Okay. All right. And do we have a cost breakdown of what the academy cost will be?
Yes, on the slide there, it's total of $254,770, and a lot of it is for, the testing process itself is $12,000, recruitment materials $11,000, Deltec, to rent the classroom is another $11,000. Overtime for the written component, the physical component, it's $2,500 there and $8,000 respectively. The physical fitness component is $10,000. Uniform needs for the academy, training gear, and overtime for the academy staff totals about $37,000. Also includes the ammunition for each $2,000 per recruit, comes out to roughly about $22,500 for ammunition, which is part of the post standards for certification for each recruit.
All right. Can you discuss the plan used for the overtime account line? I believe it's approximately $3.2 million, and it says an increase of about $464,000 over last fiscal year.
Yeah, so some of the overtime, it will be used to supplement some of our patrol divisions. Again, some of our patrol divisions in the summertime, obviously, people take vacations, and we have to maintain a level of standards when it comes to the staffing levels to make sure that the officers are safe and the community is safe as well, by having a certain number of officers to be able to respond out during the summer months when we have the most officers out because of vacation. So that's one of the things that we, as the fiscal unit, which includes the chief office and the 2 officers that are here sitting with me, we monitor that on a monthly basis to make sure that our commanders are keeping an eye out on the overtime that is being expended. And also, this includes the anti-violence overtime funding that we receive through the state as well, to make sure that the assignments that are being used, that the overtime that is being used to fill some of these assignments is effective and it's also needed. And we meet once a month to make sure that those numbers and that overtime is being being spent in a righteous way.
Okay, all right. And can you discuss any impact of having, we heard during OMB's presentation about, I guess, the presidential campaign is here, and obviously, there's a lot of movement with that. So, what's the impact has come about because of the campaign, and also have we sought reimbursement?
Yes, the headquarters are here. There is no overtime expended for Biden details for the most part. And historically, this has not been a reimbursable cost. Last year we did have a reimbursement, not last year, but a few years ago when the Democratic headquarters were here, we did get reimbursed for that. But for the Biden's detail, when he does come to town, we just use available resources that we have on the street, officers who are already working. So there is not a big overtime expenditure when it comes to that. There are sometimes issues that come up where we do have recently protesters who come in, and we do have details that we put out on an overtime basis to make sure that everything is kept under control.
All right. Jumping to question number 8, can you discuss the real-time crime center proposed cost, which is approximately $1.6 million?
Yes, so, specifically to my question, the number of cameras, I believe it was, for the city. Right now, we have 18 cameras in our Sector 1, which is our sector that's north of the Brandywine. Sector 2, which is Center City, West Center City, and Southbridge, we have 54 cameras. In Sector 3, which is everything west of I-95, we have 28 cameras. There's 25 new cameras that we expect to be installed in Sector 1 and 2. 35 of the 100 existing cameras will be replaced with a 2-year maintenance agreement on that. So we do have 5 employees who cover a 16-hour shift monitoring cameras with a 7-day coverage. And there's been a 3 to 5% contractual increase to those maintenance services through that company as well. And that budget includes $390,000 and $460 for the ShotSpotter yearly contract. And budget also includes $353,112 for the body-worn camera program.
Okay. Okay, and I think that hit every item on there. All right. Jumping to question 9, if we could talk about the consultant account line and the vendors the police department uses.
Yes. So 30,000 of that funding will be for the Police Officer Standard and Training Commission Advisory Board, which I'm working with the administration. As you know, there was legislation passed down in Dover for the creation of an advisory board. And part of that legislation was that the advisory board would receive training, and part of that training would be a police citizen academy, as well as other training from consultants, and that falls on the police budget. So that's $30,000 for that. Fitness, psychological, $12,000. Academy materials for the testing, $44,000, as well as our youth response unit, which is $85,000, and other associated costs through our CLIA, Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. As you know, we're a CLIA certified agency. We have been for quite some time, and also for our Partners in Care program that we pair the mental health clinicians with our police officers.
And can you, do you have any highlights about the Partners in Care co-responder program?
Yeah, so right now we have 2 mental health clinicians who are active, working 2 shifts from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. They alternate, one during the day, one in the evening. As you know, it's a pilot program. They go out with police officers who are on patrol and answer mental health and substance abuse calls. And when they're not answering those calls, they're doing proactive work, working with our homeless, working with our population that have substance abuse and addiction. And there have been success stories already to the point where, the community is seeing it and they're very appreciative of it, where they're offering resources, even when officers are not paired with the mental health clinicians. They're calling for the mental health clinicians to respond to certain calls where they see that there's a need or that family's in need where they could use those resources. So we do have a case manager as part of that team who does all the referrals are sent to him, and then he makes all the contacts to the individual families to make sure that they receive the resources they need, whether it's counseling for the children, counseling for adults, whether it's a food insecurity where an officer sees a family that needs, could use, the need for additional food in the household, or just additional things such as heating, air conditioning, whatever it may be to make that family whole. So we are seeing some success stories, and it's one of the things that I hope to issue out a report here shortly in the near future to display the great job that they're doing.
And lastly, what about the clinical services for youth and families position? Do you have a breakdown of the clients and cases?
Yes. So in fiscal year 2022, there was 175 individuals that were served, and in fiscal year 2023, there were 274 individuals that were served. So the Youth Response Unit is a partnership between WPD and the Delaware Division of Prevention and Behavioral Health and the Seed of Hope Counseling. And this includes two full-time clinicians and a program coordinator who provide clinical support and outreach to children who are exposed to trauma.
Okay, right, very well. Can you discuss, jumping to question 10, can you discuss the uniform account line?
Yes, so $125,000 would be for the uniforms and equipment for sworn personnel, crossing guards, and communications personnel, to include uniforms and equipment for recruits. $75,000 will be for ballistic vests for the officers. 50% of the cost is grant funded, and the remaining falls on us. $19,500 is a contractual cost every 2 years for our motor unit for riding boots. And then $220,000 would be for the Axon Taser equipment, which is compatible with our current body-worn camera equipment. The ammunition line is $188,000, and that's due to the increased cost and high demand of ammunition across the country.
Can you just jump into question 11? Can you specify all authorized and received grants for this past fiscal, going back to fiscal year 23 and moving forward?
Yeah, so as you see on this slide, we have all the grants that we've received throughout the year, and then our balance when it comes to it. Most of it is geared towards our anti-violence initiative, where we identify neighborhoods who would be in need of additional police officers during certain peak times and certain days. It's one of the things that we speak of at each of our executive management meetings when we're talking about violent crime or issues in neighborhoods. We identify where the need is, and that's where we allocate those resources of officers that are placed there through our anti-violence grant funding, whether it's a burn, whether it's other grants that are received through SLEEF and Sally and other grants.
Okay. Jumping to question 12, could you discuss, Chief, the $118,000 proposed in the equipment account line?
Yes, $50,000 would be for the additional outer vest carriers. Last year we received, I believe it was $100,000 for the outer vest carriers, and it's part of our officer wellness program. What we've seen through working with the dispensary and through consultation with other departments, the need for the weight-bearing outer vest carrier, as opposed to the traditional belt that the officers carry on their waist, which is about an additional 20 to 25 pounds during an 11-hour shift. Sitting in a vehicle can put a lot of pressure on the lower back, on the lumbar support, as well as on the sciatic nerve. So officers, it has reduced the necessary time of officers responding to the dispensary or calling out sick because of issues they've had with lower back issues or sciatic nerve. So that's going to continue to outfit the rest of the officers in our uniform services, and that's the need for those $50,000. $20,000 would be for equipment and upgrades to enhance our technical resource unit, which is part of our body cam program, and then the upgrade of our 911 consoles and CAD systems, which need to be upgraded every few years, as well as $25,000 to do repairs to our marine boats that we have in the water.
All right, can you discuss the proposed budget line for part-time crossing guards, approximately $447,000?
Yes, that's to continue to fill the crossing guards that we have. We currently have 35 locations for crossing guards, which 26 of the locations are filled, however, 9 remain open. We continue to see a challenge trying to get crossing guards into our department or into the field of protecting our children. So it's something that we continue to assess. And recently, with discussions, as we're going out and doing recruitment for police officers, we're going to bring into the fold of doing also recruitment for crossing guards as well.
Do you have a breakdown, Chief, of where the crossing guards are?
Yes, so there's on the next page, it should be up there of all the schools and the locations.
Okay. All right. Jumping to question 14. Chief, could you discuss the new vehicle request for your department?
Yes, we have one need for an unmarked police vehicle for our Crime Gun Intelligence Center. One of the things that I've seen, or through the discussion of with the Bureau of Justice Administration, they came up and did an assessment of our response to violent crime. Overall, they gave us high marks. One of the things that they recommended was starting a gun intelligence unit to be paired into our Crime Gun Intelligence Center. And that vehicle would be for surveillance operations as they respond to incidents of violent crime. Another vehicle would be to replace one of our forensic services unit crime scene vehicles, which would be a marked Chevy Tahoe. And then the last vehicle would be basically a white plain city sedan vehicle that would be for our cold case unit and our 2 civilian employees who are in that unit as well, who are doing a tremendous job.
Right. And if we could just move to the last slide, I believe you just have an organizational chart. Is there any highlights there?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Is there any highlights with your organizational chart?
It's the same as fiscal year 2024. Hasn't been many changes except for, again, the creation of the community engagement unit, which is a uniform unit who works out of our uniform services division.
Okay. All right. Very well. Thank you very much for that comprehensive overview, Chief Campos. Now it's a time where, we'll have question and answer from council. So I will start, and I'm going to jump to question 9. There was the Police Advisory Board. Do we have a proposed timing in terms of when you plan to start this upcoming fiscal year? I know there's been a lot of changes and stop and goes, but do we have, can we tell the public, we're looking to get the board established by July or June?
I don't have a specific timeline, but we're trying to get this started as soon as possible. So I'm working with the administration to get this up and running as quickly as we can.
My understanding, I guess there's going to be some legislation that's needed as well, I think, to change the composition.
Yes, I believe that was originally your legislation, so it needs to actually conform to what the state statute says now about that.
Thank you very much, Chief of Staff. And I, of course, like to recognize Chief of Staff Tenny Washington from the Mayor's Office. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we will get, I guess, more updates, or you can update the Public Safety Chair as to when that's going to be ready.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and the appointments
Okay,
have to be made.
all right. And follow-up question is regarding the CPSI work. I understanding, I was on a briefing call just about that and the Partners for Care program, in the long-term outlook for it. So is your department working right now with Dr. Deborah Mason to ensure that we have funding beyond this fiscal year and next fiscal year, that we're looking beyond 2026?
Excuse me, I could probably answer that.
Yes.
The CPSI has been solely funded through the ARPA grant, and there's enough funds budgeted to take them out until 2026.
Okay. But are you looking structurally to department beyond 2026?
That will be up to whomever comes into office and how they want to structure that whole division.
Very well. All right. That's all the question I have right now. Actually, I do have one question about the camera program. Do we know the location of the proposed new cameras, or is it going to be dispersed between the 3 sectors?
It's, the locations will be the east side and the northern side of the city.
Has there been any investigation of putting any extra cameras on the west side?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
So we allocated a limited funding for the camera programs of approximately 1.9 million. And these cameras will be put into the pilot areas that we discussed with the CPSI. So you'll have some cameras on the east side with some actual replacement cameras and some new cameras. So, but it's really a limited amount of funding, and the delay in all of this is our inability to just put them up without the permission of Delmarva. So we've been working with their legal counsel to determine how quickly we can get that done.
All right. I have no further questions for now. I will pass it to my colleagues. Pass it to Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is, I think you just brought up the ARPA funds, that the CPSI is solely funded by ARPA. I had a question at my last public safety meeting, and I asked to have the ARPA funds basically spelled out about the funds that had been spent, what we spent them on, what is still encumbered, what is still to come. I wanted to see if all of that can actually be spelled out. I had that conversation with both the chief and Dr. David Karras, and I was just wondering whether or not that information had been sent. I just wanted to make certain we had I got a chance to have a true picture of it. I know that I was told about some things were already on the website, but it didn't give me all of the information that I was truly looking for.
Yes, and the discussions that I had was that information was passed along. I'm not sure if it was or not, but that's what the information that I received.
Okay, I'll take another look to see if I have it. If not, then I'll be sending another email.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Vice Chair Harley, and then have you next, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to thank Chief Campos for that comprehensive overview. I was online when the meeting started. My question number one is regarding the Office of Violence Prevention. Is there any way, I know we just talked about the long-term goal for CPSI. However, thinking about an Office of Violence Prevention, is there some kind of way where that could be combined as it related to maybe leveraging funds and Office of Violence Prevention, coupled with what community public service safety initiatives is doing.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I continue to evaluate. I see some departments across the country who are beginning the beginning stages of an Office of Violence Prevention. So as I look across the country and I see other departments and see what they're doing, a lot of the stuff that they're doing or have incorporated into their Office of Violence Prevention are a lot of the things that we're already doing here, whether it's community outreach, walks, fairs, bringing in social service partners, doing CPSI, doing GVI, all those different programs that we're doing to try to prevent retaliatory violence or even violence from even beginning. We just call it something differently. So, but it's something that I continue to evaluate as a department, just like with the co-responder program, that if it's something that can benefit the city of Wilmington and the police department, then it's a conversation that I will have with the administration to see if it's something that we can do here.
Great. Yeah, I think that there's like an opportunity to probably leverage resources, possibly, as it relates to a combination of those two. Mr. Chair, can I
Yes,
continue?
please.
Regarding the cameras, I know that there were new cameras installed already. Are we definitely seeing a reduction in crime as it relates to our cameras? And if so, like what percentage?
I don't have the percentage, but I can tell you from reading a lot of our duty reports, reading our investigative reports, having my meetings with my investigative units and my command staff. If you see the NIXL alerts that we're putting out with when it comes to solving violent crime, I believe shooting incidents, it's somewhere like in the close to 70% this year, solvability. And our homicide rates are 100% this year. We've had 4 homicides this year. 4 of those, I would say 3 of those have been domestic related. And in 3 of those, we've made an arrest. Or 2 of those, we made an arrest. We have an arrest warrant for the 3rd. And then the other incident was a neighborhood incident where 2 individuals had a disagreement. One shot the other, but that individual has been arrested as well. So 3 out of the 4 homicides, we've made an arrest, and the 4th, we're looking for the individual, which we have warrants on. So the percentages for that, it's 100%. When you include cold case murders, so far this year, the aggregate, it's over 100%. But shooting incidents, we're about 70% clearance rate, which the average nationally is about somewhere in the mid-30s, so we're way above that. So to answer the question in a long way, yes, surveillance cameras have been very instrumental in solving a lot of these shootings, in particular, one of our latest ones as well.
That's great. And then my last question is that I think that the retention bonus is a great incentive, especially as we know regarding how everyone is, I guess, trying to get officers in their unions and things of that nature. So I think that's a great incentive. How do you determine if an officer is basically really leaving versus just saying they're leaving to get the bonus? I mean, I'm not questioning your process, but do you have a process to make sure that, people are not just, trying to get the bonus?
Yeah, so what I do is every officer that leaves for another department, or even every officer that retires, I do an exit interview to talk to them to see what can we do better, why, try to pick their brain, why are they leaving for other departments, and the answers vary from one officer to the next, right? Whether it's someone who's just looking to relocate to another area because of family reasons, or someone who's just looking to expand to a bigger department. So I do have exit interviews with our officers that are leaving, whether it's retirement, resignation, or just going to another department. I have those discussions.
Awesome. And then lastly, I just want to say that I did learn something listening to the overview today as it related to all the community requests that your officers are meeting. I never knew that they would get requests from different individuals in the community, and they try to meet those demands. So I'm pretty impressed with that, because I didn't know that. And so I just want to say, I'm glad I heard that, and that's something else that we can pass on to the community, because I don't think there's a number of people in the community know about that. And so I just wanted to say that I really appreciate hearing that tonight, and thank you. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
And just to second that again, Captain Campos, I have to say, I know on behalf of, as the sentiments Vice Chair Harley made, I haven't been to, at least on the West Side community meeting, in which you don't have an officer there since your tenure. So credit to your officer for always stepping in every community meeting. Even we were at a senior living home. We had a officer there, your community engagement unit, over on the 4th Street. So thank you again for that. I will turn it over to, I believe, in chambers, Council President, and then have Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief, for your presentation. Thank you to you and your team. Hopefully this will not be your last. I said it before, and I think that you are doing an outstanding job. And whoever our next mayor is, I hope they're smart enough to keep you in place. I think you're doing some awesome things for our city, and just want to thank you. You mentioned that there are 4 police officers who are on military deployment. How long have they been on deployment? Do you know?
Yes, I don't know specific for each officer, but I know that some of them have been long-term. You know, we have to abide by some of the military laws that they have in place. So when they get deployed and they get the orders, then we have to abide by them. But we are always assessing some of these officers who are on long-term deployment to see whether they're over the maximum amount of time, to make sure that we have a conversation not only with them, but their commanders from the military to say, hey, look, this officer is coming up on the allowable amount of time. He comes back, or they need to make a decision of whether they want to continue their employment with the city.
Okay. What is that allowable amount of time? Do you know?
It's a total of 5 years.
Okay. All right. And for crossing guards, how long has that been a responsibility for the city and the police department? Has it ever been like the school district's responsibility?
That
you know?
I wish I had the answer.
No.
Mr. President.
Chief of Staff?
As long as I've been around, it's been
Yeah.
our responsibility,
Okay.
even though we asked the state to take it over, but no.
They never.
Yeah.
Not successful. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all, Mr.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Right, in chambers, I have Councilmember Spadola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Chief. So in terms of the recruitment and retention, I was happy to see the FOP contract with the 7 and 4% raises. I do think, there's a lot of reasons Wilmington Police Department should be the highest paid in the state. I think the work you guys do is it's much different than the county and state. I think you have the respect of law enforcement throughout the state. I know that. As long as it doesn't break the budget, I should say. I think as much as the administration and future administrations should work with the FOP to make Wilmington Police Department a premier recruitment zone. Like, this should be the department that people want to come to, not that they're leaving from. On a similar note, take-home vehicle programs. We've seen smaller departments start instituting them recently. County and state have had them for some time. Something that I think makes a lot of sense, both from people in neighborhoods enjoying the presence of a police vehicle. What are your thoughts on that, just from a philosophical perspective, and is that something that you would be interested in pursuing down the road? And I should also say, in addition, especially with the residency requirement being up in the air, possibly as another motivation to keep officers in the city.
Yes, to be able to have every officer have a take-home car, not only would it be more effective and more cost-effective, because it's studies have been showing that when officers have their own vehicle, they take care of it a whole lot better. They keep them cleaner. They keep them running better. When you have vehicles that are running, sometimes 24 hours straight for 7 days a week, it's just a matter of time where they're just going to break down. So you have that cost where you're repairing vehicles, you're replacing vehicles, and when officers have a take-home vehicle, it's been shown that they take better care of them. So it's something that definitely that I would love for my officers to have take-home vehicles, but it's something that we also have to be mindful, is it fiscally doable? But it is something that other departments have offered as a perk to their police officers.
Yeah, and I just add to that, I mean, I forget how many officers you've said have left this year, but that's a trade-off that we make by not having the tools to keep police officers here. We trade that off by paying overtime to train new officers to take their place. So I definitely agree with the, it has to be fiscally sustainable. But I think just, to the administration, there's a trade-off when you lose officers, just have to pay to train new ones. And there's also a liability that comes, I think, with a newer officer on the street with less experience and less familiarity with the job. So, thank you.
I want to point out, if you have the answer, Chief of Staff Washington, I know you have. Do you have information on this? Because I know it's a question I've posed, I think, offline about the take-home cars. Can you shed light on this for the public? What the fiscal task is?
Well, I don't have an exact number, but I know it will be a significant cost, and I will have to actually look at my O&B team, Rob.
O&B, is there any, I guess, because
Yeah,
I want it to be clear for the public why take-home vehicles
Right,
are so
so
costly.
if you did all 305 and averaging about $35,000 per vehicle, it's over $10 million, so it would be a substantial increase. Now, that's just the purchase, that's not the maintenance and the fuel.
And right now, we don't have I guess it's safe to say we don't have 305 vehicles right now, do we?
I don't think so.
We have 35 take-home,
Yeah,
according to
35
the
take
slide, yeah.
And how many, I mean, do we know the number? How many vehicles do we have in total pool for the police department?
I don't have that number, but I know it's probably over 100.
Okay, so we,
And most of them are in our uniform service division.
And
Alright.
it was just 85 officers that lived in the city. So you could, as a starting point, you could chop that number down by 2/3.
okay.
But I know
Thank
that's
you for
good
that,
context. Yeah.
for that, in the numbers on B, because I just wanted to clear for the public, because we talk about take-home cars, and I think understanding the numbers behind it, I think it's important to have future conversations about what it will take to get take-home vehicles.
And there's been a significant amount of vehicles that have, if you go down to the yard, you can see that they're on a death spiral. They've either crashed out or whatever, and we have to replace those as well. So it's not just the cost of purchasing a vehicle for an officer. We have to also take into account those replacement vehicles.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Cabrera, thank you for being patient. I have you down. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I have a few questions. Chief Campos, hello. Thank you again for all the work that the whole department is doing. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, especially when we're out and about in the community with the community engagement team. And the communities are really looking forward to seeing that team grow and to have more activities. The relationships are being built, and in certain neighborhoods, as you have heard us speak before, specifically working with the Lower Hilltop area, a lot of positive feedback from the community there. And there's an amazing article that's online, but the hard copy will be coming out, that Out and About did in that Lower Hilltop area, and public safety is a big part of it. So thank you, and kudos to you and your team. My first question is, when you don't fill the vacant desk positions, how does that work get done? Do you have civilians doing it, or does it get added to another position? What's that workload like?
So we try to, some of the positions that we have open in our investigative units, we just have our investigators are carrying a bigger caseload, as well as our police officers in our uniform services division. They're just carrying a bigger, when they respond to work, they're just carrying a bigger call load responding to those calls for service. So some of that is alleviated with our anti-violence police officers who we deploy to areas that we see an increase of activity to curtail some of that and some of those calls. And then the community engagement unit has been doing, as you alluded to, have been doing a great job of taking a lot of those calls from our police officers and our uniformed services that would normally go through our 911 call center or non-emergency line. Community residents are giving those issues and those concerns to the officers who are out those meetings, as Chairman Johnson alluded to, in real time. And they're responding out and taking care of those vacant properties who are not boarded up, or those parking issues where there's an abandoned vehicle or a disagreement between neighbors. Community engagement unit are addressing those issues from becoming a constant call of someone calling on a vacant property, 10 times a week. So they're alleviating some of those calls from our police officers who are in our uniformed services division. So it's a shared approach, but a lot of it is it just increases the workload for our officers and our investigators.
Okay, yeah, that's just my concern, that when those jobs that were done by a desk job person, that now that gets overloaded on someone else. But it sounds like you're managing with the help that you have and having to cut down on those vacant positions to save with the budget and put those resources elsewhere. My next question is, could you just go a little into detail for people who don't understand? Because when I bring this up, it seems like a lot of folks are lost on how the license plate reader technology works. I know that we've gotten a few of them, and now we're putting in for more in the budget. We talked about the location in a previous question, but could you walk us through the process? Like, who gets the alerts, and do you have any current stats on how the LPRs have been really beneficial to the city?
Yes, the LPRs, or license plate readers, is something that we've deployed recently. They have been very beneficial in reducing some of the issues and crimes that we've have seen when individuals utilize vehicles as a mean to conduct violent crime, in particular shootings. And the LPRs, when a vehicle is flagged in NCIC, or the national database, as being a stolen vehicle, the officers get an alert on their computers in their vehicles that vehicle is in the area, so they can quickly respond to that location to see if they locate the vehicle and the individuals who are in that vehicle as well. And when we do have violent crime where a vehicle is used and we get information, we're able to check the LPRs and get some real-time information that our officers are utilizing. Not only for violent crime, though, it's also very effective for Amber Alerts as well. If someone if an Amber Alert is issued, we're able to know really quickly if that vehicle enters into the city of Wilmington limits, so that we can look for that vehicle. It also helps in missing person cases, where if someone is reported missing, such as an adult, and they have a vehicle that they're involved in, we can pull LPRs and see if they're which direction they went as they were leaving the city, or if that vehicle is still currently in the city. So it helps in those investigations as well.
Thank you. That is amazing. Are there any current stats that you have on our ShotSpotter system?
Current stats, I'll have to get that for you, but ShotSpotter system is very effective as well. It allows our police officers to respond in real time to shots fired incidents, and in most cases, or in some cases, I should say, make a quick apprehension of individuals who are utilizing firearms in our city.
And how many years have we had the ShotSpotters?
I would say at least 10, 12 years,
At least.
roughly.
Great. Thank you. Those are all the questions that I have right now. Just keep up the good job, the good work that everyone is doing. Very proud of our police department with the limited resources that you do have. You guys have done an outstanding job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, Chief, it was probably about 10 years, because I remember I actually did the contract. So I remember in law department. So just in terms of timeline, so yeah, it's been around for a while. So it's I think, been effective. So thank you. And anyone else online? Okay. All right.
I had another question, Chair.
Okay. All right. Councilmember McCoy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Chief. These questions are all three things you should know because they're based off of the information, so I don't want to try to surprise you or trick you. So it was on question number 2. I just wanted to know, out of the 35 take-home vehicles, how many actually stay in Wilmington? Would you know?
I would not know that question.
Okay.
Not off the top of my head. I could get it for you.
Okay. All right. The next question would actually be the partners in care. Just wanted to get like the actual start date when the program was fully staffed and running, because I know we had like a case manager at one point and then like, it was like trying to get everybody together.
Yeah, so the program itself, it took us close to a year to, get the language correct between Christiana Care and our city law department to make sure who knew what the responsibilities were. And then it took a little while for Christiana Care to actually post the positions and then go through the interviewing process. And in mid-March, we launched the program. And then we had one mental health clinician. We had 2 mental health clinicians that were hired. One actually backed out after we offered him the position because she got a substantial raise at work when they found out she was leaving. So we actually helped her out in that sense. But the one mental health clinician did go through onboarding, which was part of our training was to have diligence training as well as doing a 1 week long kind of ride along with the Newcastle County Police Department in their mental health program that they have to see some of the things that they do over in Newcastle County, which our program is similar to. And then we did hire our second mental health clinician about a month ago. They've been through the onboarding process. Now they're all both fully out in the community. And then our case manager, Kwanzaa Timmons, he's been on since the beginning, and he's been doing a tremendous job just putting everything together, putting all the resources together, and making referrals and following up with all the referrals that the officers are giving him to make sure that the individual families who are being told that, hey, this individual is going to call you, he's calling them and offering them the resources that they need. Again, whether it's counseling for their child or it's whatever it is dealing with mental health or addiction or just someone who has a child that may not be doing the right thing and they don't know where to turn to. So before that child gets into any substantial trouble with the juvenile justice system, we're trying to get ahead of it by making that referral and making sure that kid is whole.
Okay, thank you. So it's been about a month now since everybody is finally got all the pieces together?
Yeah, about a month.
Thank you. I just wanted to find out also, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I still had another question. Are the police officers responsible for any parts of their uniform? Do they have to pay for any parts of their uniform?
Everything in the police department is fully funded by the city, and to include uniform maintenance, which is cleaning. Right now, we're using our vendor is the cleaners on Concord Avenue. What is it? Dunright.
Okay.
Dunright.
I go to Dunright.
Dunright, yeah. So we're utilizing Dunright cleaners right now for our uniform maintenance. But for the most part, unless an officer, wants to buy, something on their own, that's on them. But everything is fully provided by the department.
Okay. Another question I have, the crossing guard question on, what's that, number 13? The list that you gave, are there guards at each of those corners that were listed on that page?
I knew you were going to ask that question, and I should have had an answer for you, but I can get back to you on that. I know there's a substantial amount of positions there or intersections. I believe that most of those intersections are covered, but I don't want to give you the wrong response. I can look into that a little bit further.
Okay. All right, and my last one is, not one camera for Sector 3? Not one new camera, huh? Come on, Tanny, not one new camera for Sector 3. I was looking at the cameras. We got 100 new cameras, 35 are going to be replaced because they're in poor, I guess they're in poor shape. But out of the new cameras, they're only going to Sector 1 and 2. I live in Sector 3.
I thought you got one last year,
That,
and then nobody else got one.
Did I get one last year?
Thank you.
No, I get one last year. I know I did get a chance to look at the cameras that I did have. So I wanted to make certain that they were operational. I was like, I think y'all faking me out. But I just wanted to make certain that I asked those questions, and also just to let you know that I thank you for the great job that you have done as my sector captain and now my chief. Everything is actually, we're finally gelling pretty well in 6th District. They know who to contact. I thank you so much for giving us Rosario. Like, he's been a great person. He was able to finally fill your shoes. We were doubtful, but he was able to. So I just want to say thank you again for all that you've been doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, very well. I'd like to turn to just briefly see if there's none of the first comments, if we have public comments. Okay. Seeing none, then we can turn it back to council for any final comments or questions. All right. Seeing none, again, I second the sentiment that Councilmember McCoy. I commend you on the job, as I've worked with you on the ground on Sector 3, and I appreciate the work that you're doing for the 7th District. We could use more cameras over there. That's the only thing I will say. I just heard about that at community meeting earlier this week. So again, I know it's a work in progress, but we could always use more out on the west side. And with that, we have now completed the budget hearing for police department. Oh.
They put their hand down.
Okay. All right. So we don't have another question. So no, we did have some follow-up questions and follow-up data needed, especially maybe around the take-home vehicles. So if you in your department, in conjunction with OMB, can provide some of the data we need as we go through the budget fine-tuning process, that'd be great. As well as I know we'll need the final, of course, placeholder numbers for the FOP contract. And I imagine OMB is working on that as well. So again,
That's already in there, right?
Yeah, that was the 3.9 that we mentioned earlier.
Right.
So that would be included third.
the placeholder, but we have to adjust the numbers.
Oh, yeah,
That's all.
it'll be a part of the third and final.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. So again, thank you very much for your you and your team and your leadership being present. And at this time, the police department budget hearing has concluded. You're off the hot seat, Chief Campos, and we'll take it. We're running on time. We'll take a. We'll begin at 6:10 p.m. with the fire department. We'll take a 10-minute break.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson, council members.
Thank you. Good evening, Wilmington. Those at home and in chambers, we have Chief of Staff Washington, Chief of Staff Parikh, department heads, and of course the brass from the Wilmington Fire Department. So they have joined us tonight for the Wilmington Fire Department budget hearing. So at this time, I will call to order the Finance Committee budget hearing for the Fire Department. We have just convened from a 10-minute break, so let's get right to it. First, I'll start by doing Finance Committee roll call. Vice Chair Harley. Council Member Oliver. Council Member Bracy at large. Present. Council Member Field, 8th District. Council Member Spadola at large.
Present.
Council President Congo. All right, I'd like to also recognize other council persons in attendance. I do a roll call. Councilmember McCoy, 6th District.
Here.
Councilmember Mills at large.
Present.
Councilmember Cabrera at large.
Present.
Councilmember Fields, 5th District.
Present.
I think that's all I have for now. Okay. All right, and I'm Finance Chair Johnson. I'll be chairing this meeting. So now, just to go over some ground rules, again, as always, due to the amount of material we have to go over, for council members, we'll do the question answer session after the preset questions. So we'll make sure we get through that material first, then we'll get to the preset questions. Please raise your hand in chambers or online and let us know if you have a question. And for the members of the public, we'll have public comment at the end of the presentation, question answer. And public comment will be limited to 3 minutes due to time constraints. We are currently slated for 90 minutes in total for this hearing. And this time, I believe, before I turn it over to Chief Looney, OMB will do a fiscal overview of the department. And then we'll go into Chief Looney and his team. So OMB, I guess, Mr. Winkler.
All right, thank you, Chairman Johnson. Good evening, members of council. All right, could I get the next slide? All right, so what we've got up here is the originally proposed budget for FY 2025, which totaled $30.8 million. At the time, this was proposed to be up by $6.6 million and included an additional 41 FTEs. Could we go to the next slide? All right, however, as we're about to discuss, the administration now plans to propose a substitute fire budget as part of the third and final budget compromise, which is what you're seeing here. In total, the substitute proposed fire department budget is $26.3 million. Which is up $4.2 million or 17% compared to the FY24 budget. This is a decrease of $2.4 million from the originally proposed budget. Personal services, which account for 81% of the department's budget, are $21.3 million, up $1.9 million or 9.6%. MS&Es also up with an increase of $2.1 million compared to the FY24 budget. And total staffing is 160 FTE, which is unchanged from FY24. Total authorized strength for firefighters is 156, which is also unchanged. Okay, next slide. All right, so let's talk about the major funding changes for FY25. And I'll start with the largest change for this year, which is funding for emergency medical services. Now, as everybody here is aware, for several decades, ambulance transport in Wilmington was provided by third parties at no cost to the city. When the budget was originally proposed, Trinity Health, who's associated with St. Francis Hospital, had stated they would no longer be providing ambulance service after December 31st, 2024. Because of this, the city originally planned on creating an EMS division at a cost of $4.6 million. This would have included those 41 new positions at a cost of $3.3 million. Now, subsequent to the budget being proposed, the administration continued working with St. Francis to extend that contract out to December 31st, 2025. Now, this means that the funding originally requested for the new EMS division is no longer going to be required. Instead, the budget will include $1.9 million in the consultants line in order to have St. Francis continue ambulance service. Now, note that this budget amount is only half of the annual cost of that, as the budget amendment that was approved in FY24 covers the first half of FY25. Now, the city will proceed with the purchase of the 5 ambulances at an FY25 annual lease and operating cost of $260,000. All of these revisions to the budget are expected to be proposed as part of the third and final budget compromise. So this extension of the St. Francis contract results in a reduction of $1.9 million in projected revenue and a $2.4 million decrease in expenditures relative to the originally proposed budget. Okay, next slide. All right, so excluding all of those EMS changes, the budget is up by a bit over $2 million. Salaries and wages are budgeted to increase by a total of $1.9 million. Now, of that, $1.2 million is a result of contractual salary increases along with mandatory step increases. In addition, OT has increased by $341,000 to ensure that minimum staffing requirements are met, and there are no changes to staffing levels. Now, employee benefits are also expected to increase by a net $270,000. The largest element of that is the state pensions, which are up $470,000, mainly due to an almost 18% increase in the state pension rate. Now, those additional costs are partially offset by a $231,000 decrease in healthcare costs. As to MS&E, consultants, and this is, again, consultants outside EMS, are down a net $97,000, due mainly to FY25 being an off year for the biennial promotional process, along with savings due to the fire department no longer relying on the state of Delaware to provide email service. Now, beyond that, wearing apparel and safety supplies in the suppression division are up a net $160,000. What that includes is $57,000 for replacement vests, $69,000 for replacement helmets, and an additional $52,000 for protective equipment for recruits. And finally, debt service is budgeted to be down by a net $137,000, which is based on the existing debt service schedule. All right, that concludes my presentation on the fire department budget. Chair, the floor is yours.
This is really, I guess, just for OMB. This, again, I know a lot's been changing in flux. I wanted to go over the justification for the account line for the ambulance purchase, approximately $260,000, considering we are using St. Francis now. So what's the reasoning behind that?
There is actually a slide that will discuss that in some further detail. So the chief will handle that one.
Okay, all right. All right, and it'll be the, all right, and then, so I understand that the 1.9 is solely for the 6 months.
That's correct.
I guess the question is, are we looking for an extension beyond December 2024 as well, to carry over to the next administration?
So the contract ends in December 2024. New contract begins in January. So the money that's budgeted in the FY25 covers 6 months of the new agreement, which is a total of $3.8 million. So you will have $1.9 million budgeted for FY25. It'll be up to the new administration to incorporate the remaining balance of that contract in the FY26 budget.
Okay, so let me get this right. The contract will go to July or June 30th, 2025?
It's going to be another contract. It's going to go all the way till December 2025.
Okay.
So they'll just have to incorporate those costs as consultant expenditure in their FY26 budget. Do you
Okay.
understand what I'm saying?
Yes. No, yeah, I just want to make sure the
Yeah.
contracts, that's a major question we've had on council. 'Cause
Yeah.
we don't want it to end in December and then we be left scrambling.
Right.
Okay. All right. And OMB, I know there was an aspect of the collection process from St. Francis. Did we have any numbers on that?
So,
Yeah.
so previously, you're saying what we had budgeted? Because we had included 1.9 million in projected revenue on our side. Now, obviously, we'll no longer be collecting that since St. Francis will be running it. They'll be continuing to do the collections on their side themselves.
Uh-huh. All right. And we don't have any numbers on that yet, do we? Do we have any numbers
On the revenues?
No,
On their side?
no.
No.
I
on
mean,
St. Francis?
No.
But as a part of their contract is if they improve on the revenue collection, then some of that, some of our costs will be offset. If they, go get above and beyond what they predicted in terms of revenues, that reconciliation, we will have a reduced expense. Did I say that? Right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
And the final OMB specific question, we may not have the answer right now, but because there is a revenue shortfall projected with the $1.9 million based on the new proposal, or is there now a need to go back to WFAC to recertify what the projections are?
It's an offset with the
Yeah,
expense.
so-
It's an
Well, we
offset with
had,
the expense.
I had
Yes,
talked to the
director.
chairman of WFAC, and because it's basically just a mathematical calculation, he does not have an issue with it and probably will not call a special meeting for that, as long as we just inform him of the exact number, the change.
So what the revenue was 1.9, I believe the expenses
Yes.
were 2.4.
That's correct.
So it's to the good, actually.
Yeah, the surplus would actually be, the net surplus is higher than it was prior to this.
Right.
So as of now, we don't believe we'll need to call a special WFAC meeting for that. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Mr. Winkler and Director Greco. I know there's a lot of moving parts. This has been a moving ball, definitely over the past few days. So we appreciate your work here. All right. Well, then I will turn it over now to Chief Looney, and you can introduce your team of leadership with you, and then we can go into your department overview and then dive into the question and answers.
Okay.
All right. Floor is yours, Chief.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Johnson, President Congo, all council members in attendance for allowing us to present our FY25 budget. I want to thank Deputy Chief of Operations Gordon Davis, Deputy Chief of Fire Prevention Gabriel Pavone. He was unable to be with us this evening. Battalion Chief of Support Services Carl Ziffel, and our Fiscal Administrator Andrea Lewis for their assistance in preparing the budget. Also, I want to recognize all the men and women of the Wilmington Fire Department for their dedication and commitment to providing superior services on a daily basis. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And I would like to recognize Council President Congo is on Zoom. All right, let me paperwork together. All right. Can you discuss, jumping to question one, Chief? Can you discuss the, impact of HB 371? I believe this is regarding the distribution of share and fees for services within the state. Can you discuss how your department is dealing with that?
Do you want to handle that?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, so what this is in regard to is the state pension contribution, which is that revenue that the insurance commissioner gives us that then acts as an offset against the city pension costs. So, we get that payment from the insurance commissioner, which is based on those insurance premiums on properties that are in Wilmington. What HB 371 does is it modifies the process for actually determining what locations are included as in Wilmington. Previously, there was some uncertainty on this because, you'll see a lot of postal addresses that will refer to a location as being in Wilmington, even when it's, outside the legal boundaries of the city. So HB 371 now switches this over to using specific zip codes to define, what properties are included. This is actually similar to some rules that were recently implemented by the insurance commissioner. So, we'll start to see the impact of this take effect in this fiscal year. Now, we've talked to the insurance commissioner about this to try to get some numbers. They're still in the process of collecting this revenue for FY24, so they can't give us an exact estimate on this yet. We'll get our next payment for the pension contribution in mid-May, at which point we'll have a better understanding of what the new revenue amount here will be. Now, for the 24 budget, the 25 budget, we've kept it the same as what we got in 24, which is actually the same as what we saw at FY22. We think that's a fairly conservative estimate since that's actually down a bit from what we had in FY23. In either case, it is sufficient to cover the pension costs that we have.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Winkler. Now we'll be, due to the changes about the EMS proposal, we'll be skipping questions 2 and 3, WITN. So we'll be moving to question 4. Okay. All right. I know we touched on this briefly earlier this evening, Chief. Can you give some details why there's, even though we're not looking at an internal EMS program right now, based on the presentation proposed, why then do we have this budget for the, I guess, buying the city fleet EMS trucks?
Yes. Right now, we have purchased 5 new, what we call basic life support units, which are ambulances. They're replacing, 3 of those new units will replace 3 of our older units that date back to 2006. They're in need of replacement, so we are replacing them, and for any future expansion later on. Along with the an EMS staff vehicle also, and then that's for later on with the expansion, with the further expansion of EMS. Replacement cycles every 5 years, and no bond bill funds are being requested.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief. Now, due to, again, the changes, a lot of the questions were proposed we did this even a few days ago based on the division being created. So that's not happening now, so we can actually skip WITN 5, 6, and 7, and let's just roll to 8.
Okay.
If you could discuss the approximately $1.3 million budget for overtime, as this is a $341,000 increase over last fiscal year.
Yes, sir. The planned use of overtime covers vacancies from vacation, sick leave, injured leave, parental leave, military leave, and attrition. The budget was based on actual data from FY24, contractual pay increases, and a recent decision to pay FSLA overtime to our battalion chiefs by PERB. Some of our control measures in place maintain our authorized strength. Doctor notes after 3 units off, doctor notes for absence before or after a holiday. And this settlement for the battalion chiefs will be dispersed in May.
Okay. Jumping to question 9, if you could discuss your current vacant positions.
Currently, we have no vacant positions currently. We have a recruit academy, the 43rd Recruit Academy begins on Monday with 15 new recruits. So currently that leaves us with no vacancies. We are 5 over with those 15, and that is just customary that we do all the time due to resignations and retirements while the academy's in process.
And can you jump into question 10, Chief? Could you, similar to questions posed to Chief Campos, can you talk about the authorized strength?
Yes, FY25, as I indicated, authorized strength of 156 uniform. Currently, FY24, our current strength is 161 uniformed, and that deals with the 5 over with our current hiring. There's projected to be a class in FY25 for vacancies that occur. The cost for that Training is $38,000, uniforms $22,000, and equipment at $152,000.
Well, jump into question 11. Can you discuss the amount of state grant and aid funds that remain?
Yes, sir. The amount of funds remaining in our grant and aid is approximately $625,000. Our intentions with the funds will be to equip a new fire engine that was just purchased in April, maintaining and operating our new training grounds for our next couple phases that we have in the planning. Along with $10,000 is dedicated to the Marine units as required by our GIA bill for maintenance. We do not currently know how much grant and aid we will be receiving in FY25. We won't find that out for several more months to come.
Okay. All right. Jump into question 12. You could discuss the plan, approximately $163,000 proposed for a consultant.
Yes, sir. Cardiac or cardio kinetics, that's $34,000. It's a one-year contract. It's renewed annually for the evaluation of firefighter physical fitness, health, and wellness. The city has used them for the past 18 years. Moving on to Target Solutions, $19,000, one-year contract. Target Solution, it's a comprehensive program. It's our platform, system, technology platform that we use for including managing, providing fire department online training and EMT continuing education units. And that's required for our certifications, ensuring all our training needs are met. We have used them for the past 5 years. Our Code Solutions, that's the contract, that's at $110,000. That's a one-year contract. That's our plans review engineer that is in the fire marshal's office. And we've been using Code Solutions for the past 4 years.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Jumping to question number 13, we move to that. Can you discuss approximately $174,000 in the contracted maintenance account line? This is a slight increase over last fiscal year. $13, Chief.
Yes. It's actually, it provides adequate funding for, our repair of our stations throughout the year. I don't believe it wasn't 44,000.
Yeah, the 44,000 for the Marine unit.
For the Marine unit.
Because the,
Yeah, 44,000 is associated with the Marine unit, our preventive maintenance on both our vessels. Reason being is First State Vehicle, who provides all the maintenance for all the city vehicles, they no longer will support servicing our Marine units. So we had to go outside of there, and that's the $44,000.
Okay. Very well. Moving to question number 14, you discuss the approximately $487,000 budget for wearing an apparel and safety account line.
Yes, sir. The budget was increased due to replacement cycle of our ballistic vest, our firefighting helmets that are required to be replaced. Ballistic vests are replaced every 5 years, and that's per the National Institute of Justice at a price of $57,000. Our firefighting protective clothing replaced every 10 years per NFPA, and that comes to $68,512. And then for our current, for the recruit class, it would be $152,000 for wearing and apparel.
All right. Moving to question number 15, can you discuss if there's any plans in your proposed budget for a Narcan and fire alarm or any kind of social service aspect?
Narcan, the Narcan that's utilized on scene is replaced at no charge by St. Francis as part of our current contract. We partnered with St. Francis probably about 5-6 years ago. We were one of the first ones in the city of Wilmington that was, as first responders, administering Narcan. The department expends approximately $100 per year to replace expired Narcan. The fire department does not provide social services for mental health. When it comes, the American Red Cross, we've had this partnership for many, many years, and it's been very, very beneficial to the city. With American Red Cross, Delmarva Power, and 6ABC, which they provide the department with battery-powered smoke detectors at no cost, which is phenomenal.
Okay. And lastly, is there any highlights with your organizational chart, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that, all right. It hasn't changed in the
No,
past?
no, it has not changed.
Okay, all right.
We made sure those nice pictures were added there. Get a round of applause for it.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so now we'll jump to the question and answer session. I just have I have two right off the bat. First is regarding the EMS vehicles. So, for clarification, Chief, does the department currently have these? I guess, and this is question number 4, if we could. WITN. What's the total number of EMS, I guess, these support life vehicles that the city currently has?
We have 3,
Okay.
and we've had those 3 units since 2006. They've not been replaced.
Okay, so, and they've been just sitting vacant in the
No, they're used,
yard, or?
they're currently being used for city-sponsored events, we call them paid details. They're EMS standbys for events throughout the city throughout the year.
But since the city started using St. Francis, it really has not been an activity,
Oh,
those
no,
vehicles.
our EMS standbys are very, very active.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so this proposal just is replacing.
Replacing those 3, and also with the addition of those, units,
You want
in case we do move future into providing EMS.
Okay.
And if something were to happen and we had to, immediately, put a plan together to provide the service, we need the units.
And I guess my question, Chief of Staff Washington may be able to answer this, is I know we're not in a capital year. Is there a way this would be included is there a way we can output it in the future so it's a capital, I guess, suspense?
This is a capital lease. Capital lease law.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
is going to be structured as a capital lease?
Yes.
Okay.
And so 2 of those units are really, in case something happens with Trinity Health and we need to act quickly, we will have 2 additional backup units. I think it's really important that we prepare ourselves just in case, something happens and, we have to step in.
And then lastly, Chief, on that same note, is the intent for the current vehicles, are they going to be aged out and or sold, or are they going to actually stay in the fleet?
They'll stay in service for the time being for this year.
Okay.
And just just what Chief of Staff had to say, I have to reinforce what she says. It's important that we have these units.
Okay. All right. Very well. And then my question jumps back to question 1. About, I understand that there's the dealing with Dover right now. There's HB 371. Is there a potential fiscal impact? So this may be a question for OMB. If this does go forward, are we actually looking at about payments back to the state at all, or?
No, I mean, there's been nothing indicating that we would be paying back to the state anything we've received in the past. In terms of the fiscal impact, we will have a better sense of that in May when we get that first payment sort of under a similar to regime as to what HB 371 is proposing. Prior to that, it's difficult to really estimate exactly what the impact would be.
Just from our law department looking at the bill, it looks like it simply really delineates the zip codes. It really just, before the zip codes weren't really stressed and, and how they disperse the monies. So the zip codes are new, and also the fact that there's a one-time disbursement, I believe.
Yeah, right now we get two payments. We get a small payment earlier in the year, and then the bulk of the money comes in May. They're changing it so all the money will come in May.
And I guess maybe we'll have more offline conversations. I haven't dove into the bill enough, but even by doing by zip code, there's still zip codes that bleed over into the county. So I don't know how that works. Like 19805, I know is one, for example, where that's actually my zip code and it goes over to the county too. So how
Yes,
how does that
how
solve
it's
the
been set
problem?
up, they've delineated certain zip codes. You've got 19805 that would be counted as being in city, and then you've got 19809 that's split between the county and the city. Mainly, that's a big chunk of that is the port, but then that goes up into Edgemore and further north. That one would be counted as outside the city.
So they gave us that 19805, but we don't get 19809. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Probably
All right. Well, that's Dover so for you. So, all right. I thank you for that clarification. It was confusing to me as well. All right. I will turn it over to my colleagues for any questions. Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Chief, for the presentation. I just had a few questions. I think I had was missing a little bit of clarity about the units. The 5 units that were purchased, 3 will replace the older units, but we'll still keep the old ones, and the new ones we'll just keep on hand. Are we, you said there is a lease. These are not, are these new units?
These
Are they
are-
brand new?
Yes, ma'am, they are new units. The 5 units that we're purchasing are new units.
Okay. And then also the EMS staff vehicle hasn't already been purchased as well?
The staff vehicle?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, that has been purchased.
Okay. I did have another question.
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Chair. Okay, I just wanted to find out, when it came to the disbursement, that settlement disbursement that will be in May, so now moving forward in the budget, so basically this budget shows the disbursement, and also moving forward, the overtime will include the battalion chiefs, so that's what you're stating?
Yes, ma'am. There was a PERB decision several months ago relating to our battalion chiefs and their FSLA, Fair Labor Standard Act, of time and a half overtime. In the PERB decision, that will, once it's dispersed, that will be coming out of our current overtime line.
Okay.
And just one clarification on that. The disbursement's only occurring in FY24.
That,
Current budget.
We have, however, already started paying this and complying with the PERB ruling. So the current payments are already taking place in FY24. The disbursement is catching up for payments prior to that.
we started following the decision in July of last year.
Oh, okay.
So we were paying them at the appropriate rate.
All right, thank you. I think the last thing that I wanted to state was, yes, about the fire alarms and the Red Cross and Channel 6 or whatever you're doing. Looks like that's been about 5 years, I think, that you guys have been doing that.
Yes, ma'am.
Like that is, I actually just talked to Gabe about it last night, and I'm like, it's a great program, and I look forward to seeing it. I've already seen it in quite a few communities within my district, but I look forward to seeing it throughout
Yes.
the rest of the city. So he told me he can't wait because they're about to start it again.
Yes, ma'am,
So
because
thank you so much.
we're in the process of planning our next event now.
Great. Thank you so much for making certain that we are protected, especially when it comes to things like fire. I do not do chirping fire alarms, smoke alarms. That's not me, but thank you so much for making certain that those devices are available.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Now I will. All right. I'll now turn it to the public. If there's any public comments in chambers or on Zoom. Okay. All right. Seeing none, then any final comments or questions from council? Okay. Very well. Thank you very much, Chief Looney, in your leadership for, of course, protecting our city and making sure we're all safe. So thank you. And there was a lot of information that we had planned to cover that due to changes we no longer have to cover, but we can still obviously work out the contract kinks and everything, the numbers moving forward. So of course, thank you, Director Greco, and of course, Mr. Winkler from OMB. Any follow-up information, as always, please provide to Ms. Marshall Bassnight. All right. In closing, this is the last budget hearing for this fiscal year. I'd like to thank all of you who participated, the many evenings with me and Vice Chair Harley. This is never an easy time of year, but we have a lot of material to cover, but we appreciate you for being engaged. Of course, OMB budget team, thank you for all the hard work you do. Director Greco, Mr. Winkler, and your team. Of course, the department heads, Chief of Staff Washington, special thanks to you, as this is your last budget
Yes.
hearing. So again, hats off to you.
Yay.
A lot of them down, and we look forward to your retirement. So celebrating retirement.
Yes. If I may, I really like to extend a special thank you to the two Robs who are my double right hands, Rob Winkler, Rob Greco, and the entire OMB staff for helping us through this entire process. And I just want to compliment council on this whole budget hearing for FY25. I think it's an improved way of having your budget hearings. And I really compliment you on holding the questions to the end and allowing us to respond accordingly. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief of Staff. And of course, hats off to WITN. You keep us running very smoothly through the evenings during this budget season. And of course, council staff who stays here late and make sure we're taken care of. And we have what we need no matter what it is. So thank you to everyone in our back office. So although this ends the budget hearings themselves, the process is still ongoing in Wilmington. So now the task is between both City Council and administration to try to reach a compromise. We must balance the budget 30 days before the close of the fiscal year. So by our math, it really by May 30th, it has to pass because the new fiscal year begins July 1st. So we do have a lot to do in the next few weeks, and we look forward to you continuing to be engaged at home. Let us know your suggestions and visit our WILM-DE budget website or contact City Council with any questions, any input, any comments on our budget. So as a housekeeping matter, the next Finance Committee meeting is slated for Monday, May 13th at 5 p.m. This will be the introduction of the negotiated budget bills. And so at that point, assuming everything stays on track, the actual final budget bills will go to the City Council floor on May 16th at 6:30 p.m. And it'll be a third and final reading of the budget ordinances in the actual vote on the budget. So please, again, continue to tune in to WITN Channel 22 to watch our committee meetings. You can also watch it online at WITN22.org. And in budget information, as I just said, is on our budget website at WILMDEbudget.org. This time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All right. Is there a second? All right. It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. The meeting has concluded. See you at the committee meeting.
Thank you.